to this presentation with the title Simplifying Your Network Security Architecture for the Future. This is indeed a nice title because this is something that will help any organization into the future, because most of the organizations are struggling with the enormous complexity that's being added into their infrastructure when they add additional security services or make changes or replace devices and things like that. With this new era, and I would say the future of network security is in the cloud, defined by Gartner in the document with the title SASE, the future of network security is in the cloud. SASE stands for Secure Access Service Edge. This is a different mindset. It's a mindset, it's not a product, it's a mindset, changing the way we build our security architectures into the future to help our clients, our workforce, to secure access to your or third-party business applications. My name is Mesker. I'm the CTO for Orange Cyber Defense in the Netherlands. And in my daily role, I'm continuously searching for new technologies, searching for new initiatives, new forward-looking ideas to help organizations reduce their attack surface continuously and make their network security infrastructure more easier. And this has been an interesting year so far. We've heard it a lot, but in reality, some things really changed, which accelerated our way of going forward. So this accelerates also the fact that we make the step towards this future-looking and future-ready security infrastructure much easier. Despite what we did in the past, we built our infrastructures based around the data center. So the data center holds most of the applications and the data which is important for your organization, and we let connect the branches, the users, the third parties, the internet connections towards this data center. The data center is surrounded most of the time with strong security controls, building high availability, building next generation security controls like proxy, firewalling, DLP, malware detection, sandboxing, DNS security, all these things around it. And with the shift towards the cloud, the shift that most of the users are away from the organization and are connecting directly to the internet, the shift with branch offices connecting partly towards SaaS applications, partly towards business applications in your traditional data set, gives us the urge to rethink how we build our security network infrastructure. And really, it's a combination of networking and security and thinking forward. This means, with the introduction of what Gartner defined in his SASE report, that we should say, hey, the future of network security is in the cloud. I pause for a minute because this is really something. This is a mindset change. This is a game changer towards the future. The digital business transformations gives us actually the urgency to move and think differently, to move resources to the cloud. We move data to the cloud, or our clients are connecting from anywhere, and they want performance-wise, functionality-wise, the right connectivity, which gives us the urgency to say, hey, we need to rethink how the infrastructure is being built, taking into account that we did investment, that we have expertise, but also taking into account that things need to be more simpler, more flexible, more agile. So this is something that I want to address with you in this pitch. So the new forward-looking infrastructure should look something like this on the right, which shows us indeed the connectivity of all the different assets or entities that need to connect, being connected in the middle with what we call a secure access cloud environment. Secure access cloud environment takes care on one side for the right connectivity, the right path, the right bandwidth, the right latency, and on the other side for taking care of the security controls around it. And obviously it starts with the identification on what is entering to your network and what should access to your resources. I said already, SASE is not a product, it's a mindset. And in my opinion, this is a true climate change. A climate change in the sense that we really have to think differently and that we should not continue on building our security architecture as we did in the past. In my opinion, we are on a crossroad by saying now, hey, we embrace and adopt this new model, this new mindset, and all our forward investments, all our new technologies or services that we take on board in organizations should be in line with this mindset, the SASE mindset, by building a secure access service edge mindset. I said already, SASE is being invented or mentioned by Gartner in their report. Forrester calls this secure trust edge, which is more or less the same environment. I can also say that most of the vendors we are dealing with are claiming that they are a SASE player, or that they at least have building blocks to build a SASE architecture. And this is really something that I would also like to address later on in this presentation, how we should look to the innovations and the solutions that they are building at the moment. In my opinion, as already said, this is a true climate change, and this is something that you have to embrace to be future fit and future ready to build your security architecture into the future. When we look to a typical environment, we came up with this simplified security architecture, or network architecture if you'd like, a couple of years ago. This shows in the bottom the kind of devices that want to access need access to data or to resources. Could be a managed endpoint, could be an unmanaged endpoint, could be a headless device like IoT or OT devices. And they either connect via a remote location, a home location, a factory, a branch, a headquarters, and then they connect via a interconnectivity link towards your resources. That can be either in your private cloud, if you see it, as you see it left in the left top, can be in an IaaS or PaaS environment, can be a SaaS application, but could also be the fact that this application is a public internet and a tolerated SaaS application that you are using. And basically, when you have this architecture, there are three main questions you need to ask yourself. And these questions are: where is my data? What users are connecting? And how do I achieve the best path selection and the maximum security controls? If we go a bit further and say, hey, where is my data and where's my sensitive data? I can tell you in most organizations, the data is more or less everywhere. It's in your private cloud, obviously. A lot of data is in your public cloud, but still more and more data is in SaaS applications and even tolerated SaaS third-party applications. But still in a lot of organizations, there's also quite some data in the locations or on the devices that people are using. And this is something that you have to be serious about, because this is really towards the future and a situation that you do not want to have and that you maybe cannot handle on the long run. On the other hand, we have to ask ourselves, how do I manage, or where are which identities in what context are accessing to this data? Are my own employees? Are they working from home? Are the employees at a certain branch location? Are they abroad? Are they working from an internet kiosk? And that should define what kind of access or what kind of authentication people get to access the data. And the third question, as I already said, how do I make sure that I have an optimal secure connectivity? And more, this is also the case from your home offices, because as we said, a majority of the workforce is working from home right now, which is not necessarily in your control. So we have to make sure that the connection from the home office towards the public, private, SaaS applications, whatever the data resists, is a secured connection. This means that security controls need to be added along the way towards the data, but as I said, between the user and the data. To simplify the things more and to define where is this cloud-built security architecture in this picture, I would like to address it like this. So on the bottom, you can talk about the identities or devices that access to the infrastructure. Let's call them subscriber endpoints. And on the top of the picture, you see the service endpoints. So these are the applications, the environment that service the data towards your clients. And this is actually in any organization more or less the same. In the middle, that's where we should position the SASE architecture. And the SASE is a combination of connect it and secure it. And thirdly, this is being delivered as a service to you as an organization. If we dive a little bit deeper, then we could say that in this subscriber endpoints and in this service endpoints, there are things taken into account like name, device ID, risk assessment, presence. Have we seen this device before? what role, location, characteristics, all these kind of things. And based on the combination of parameters, we define whether and how the device is getting access to the infrastructure. On the top, we talk about service endpoints, then we can talk about what's the sensitivity of the data. So maybe we want to take extra security controls it, or DLP around it, or application security around it. Is it sanctioned, unsanctioned? What type of application is it? Where is it running, in my public or in my private data set? And the same when we go to the middle part, the SASE part. How and where do we address all these security controls, connectivity requirements that we have in the infrastructure? And how do we make sure that these are being delivered agile, flexible, scalable, close to where the access of the subscriber endpoint is, centrally managed, creating security policies, let's say, on a single environment, scalable, so not built in a siloed environment, preferably a single user interface, single security policies, as I already said. And this is really challenging. And the only way to get there is make sure that all these services, which are being defined here in the middle, they are being delivered cloud-based or cloud-native. And still, most likely, you need CPE devices or smaller entities on your branch location, maybe at your home location, maybe as an agent on an endpoint. But this is really something that needs to be monitored, configured, defined out of a cloud environment. So as I said, it should be cloud managed. It should deliver single pass inspection with full automation around, flexible, with as a service, so you can consume it if you like, offered from a single control, giving full visibility, built on microservices, obviously, so really a true cloud-based environment. Having said that, and I think everyone should say, well, that's a nice way looking forward to the business, but how do we achieve that? Because as I already said, a lot of vendors are saying, hey, we deliver SASE services, or we are a SASE services provider, or we have SASE solutions in our portfolio. And the research I did and the white paper I also wrote about it basically gave me the impression that it's really early in the maturity chain of building these future security architectures. Having said that, I also say that we need to get on this bandwagon and get it installed and get there. The problem could be that to build this total picture, you need most likely maybe 3, 4, 5 different vendors at this moment. On the long run, that should or could maybe be one vendor, but for this moment, I think it's still a couple of vendors. On the other hand, if we saw in the initial pictures, the current architectures built on much more vendors that are not offered, that do not offer most likely the cloud-based and cloud-built architecture. So they don't offer the requested flexibility, scaling, and all these things. Having said that, I think I should warn you also for a couple of risks that are involved, and I would also like to give you some guidance and some advices on how to take this to the next step. So some risks that I want to identify or want to make sure that you've seen them and you've heard them is try to avoid a SASE offering that's just stitching different components together by giving a tick in the box saying, hey, I offer secure web gateway, I offer cloud access security broker, I offer a DLP, I offer identity, DNS security, but then different vendors, because you will never get to a single pane of glass. You will never get to a single security policy that can be addressed. SASE includes connectivity and security, and the connectivity part, it's an important part in the whole picture. So creating this architecture requires embracing and adopting also SD-WAN technologies, taking these technologies into account for building your total SASE model, mindset, framework, so to say. And it's also not enough to say, hey, I put some security services on top of my SD-WAN services, and that's what I call a SASE service. So getting to this single pass inspection in a cloud-based delivery model is not yet fully feasible. That's my opinion. So yes, on paper it most likely would work. In reality, I think we are not there yet, and in line encrypted traffic inspection, as saying here, it's very challenging. Having this single pass architecture is very challenging. Having a service that can be delivered all over the globe could be challenging, could be could be expensive, but could also be challenging. So these are some risks that I really would like to take into account. Having said that, and I think it's important, my way and our advice in the way forward is that you really have to get acquainted with the model, get to know the different services and solutions and how they are being positioned from guys like Gartner, Forrester, the MEF framework, but also listen to the vendors. And importantly, also listen to service providers like us in this discussion, because it's a multidisciplinary, multi-level, multi-vendor approach maybe. So we really have to involve the right people in your organization, being the CISO, being the lead architects. I personally wrote about a piece that we call the mini platform approach, and that's by saying select at least a couple of vendors to build the total picture for now, instead of trying to wait for one or trying to build it on hundreds. Take the mini platform approach, so take a few vendors trying to address the most of the requirements in your infrastructure that are truly cloud-based, cloud-managed. Build a long-term strategy, so really create the path forward and take short-term steps and take short-term contracts with your provider, because most likely, as we said, a lot of things will be changing into the future. But for now, get on this bandwagon, get started, embrace, adopt the model, get the conversations with people like us about these models and how to getting it to the next level and how to create it. And I would say dare to be disruptive, dare to make these choices, dare to make faults, dare to go ahead with it and make the steps into the future. With this, I would like to leave you and would like to open up for maybe some questions or some interactions. So please reach out to us, have the conversation. I think it's an important step into the future. As already said, the future of network security is in the cloud. Start to embrace it, and with the current pandemic or economics environment, I think it's a good step forward. And in my opinion, it only accelerates the urge of adopting these kind of models. Thank you for listening. Hope to see and speak to you later. Thank you a lot, and goodbye.